Hey, it's JP. If you're watching this, I'm probably somewhere overseas in Croatia or Slovenia, taking a little summer holiday break from the warm Austin heat. I hope you guys are doing well too. In this little break, I've been talking to my producer, and we've decided we want to rerun one of my favorite episodes with Miki Agrawal. I think you're going to love this episode. If you haven't seen it, this is one really worth paying attention to. I think out of all the episodes, Miki, her creative process of manifesting wealth with not just purpose, but with amazing results. You think about what Miki has done with her Thinx, with her Hello Tushy, and now she's about to launch her new brand, which is basically ending potentially the plastic crisis in America by creating a new kind of diaper called Hiro. It's unbelievable. It's one thing if you're lucky enough in your life to have one good idea. Miki just keeps coming up with new ideas that hit, and she raises money with ease. She takes the toughest problem, like plastics in America and the world, and how to break them down. And I really think she shares with us in this episode her own internal process of not only how she got to that point, but really how she does it. And I can tell you more and more when I talk about the Starbucks exercise or getting to your why, I think this episode with Miki is the best episode you can watch to really understand mixing, when you create your business, mixing both your business intellect with really learning how to really fire up and juice your creative side so that what you're actually producing in your business plan is inspired both by great business tactics, passion, spirit, and vision, maybe in a way that you never expected. What if you could 5x your vision, and from that you created 5x the results? I think this episode holds that promise. Enjoy.
I'm Ryan Daniel Moran, joined by my mentor and friend, JP Newman.
Howdy, howdy. So great to be here today.
And today we are blessed with the presence of Miki Agrawal. And we were talking before the show about how Miki is sort of a living example of everything that we believe in the show, of leading with impact, of leading with the intent to create good in the world and creating outsized returns as a result of embodying that idea. So Miki, we're talking about you in the third person, like you aren't sitting right next to me, but you really are the example of everything that we believe in here on the show.
I've been really excited, Miki, to have you on. You really are. When Ryan and I started the idea for this show, you were on our short list of really a shining example of leaders who are bringing creativity to solve some of the world's biggest problems.
And JP, we're just going to keep talking so Miki can't get a word in.
Yeah,
here,
let's.
But JP, I don't think I've ever told you the story. When Miki spoke at the Capitalism Conference, people were talking about it literally for a has it been a year?
Yeah,
a year after, like a year. Maybe you should come back.
More things to talk about.
Because more things to talk.
She definitely
You did get it all out in 50 minutes on stage of this idea of the way I interpreted it was Miki just has this way of lining up with the energy first, and then everything just kind of flows out of that. Would you say that's a fair summary of your thought process as an entrepreneur?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about capitalism, capitalism is really around money, right? One of the sport of creating and building money. But money is energy.
Yeah.
Like money is energy, and it's an energy exchange. It's like, I give you this energy, and if you give me this energy, if you give me your physical energy, I give you this other type of energy, which can get you other type of energy like food or place to live. So it's all energy based. And I think, if we approach life from that lens and approach business from the lens of energy exchanges, like what makes it a value exchange for the customer, for the employee, for the investor, for the supplier, for the planet, for everyone in the room, how is it the best energy exchange possible? Actually, that is the definition of conscious capitalism, conscious business. And that type of energy exchange business can sometimes outperform major indices like straight business by up to 14 times. That's conscious capitalism is.
And is that something that you had to cultivate as a practice, or does that come naturally to you? Because as a traditional capitalist dude, this is something that I intellectually get, and I can even teach this. Or this is something that I sprinkle in with the people who follow my work and our students, of trying to think more with their heart or body rather than their brain, and lining up with the impact that they want to make. And although I can talk about it and teach it, I still have to work hard at practicing that. So does this come naturally to you, or is this a muscle?
I mean, I think, fortunately and unfortunately for the dude, we live in a world, at least coming from the conditioned patriarchal system, where men aren't allowed to really feel as much as women.
Oh, I feel a
right?
lot. I feel
And so-
all kinds of things.
Right. But
yeah.
you're not as much allowed to express that, right? So there's that brain body, the brain heart connection that exists internally, but oftentimes from an expressed, in the world way, it is a pretty it's a muscle that that have been a little bit atrophied for men, and that's definitely well developed for women. And so there's now the muscle of building business and sort of being more having the more masculine part of women come through. And masculine doesn't mean like manly. Masculine just means our productivity, our sort of like just go-getterness or getting shit done mentality, like that. The women of the last generation has been building that muscle, while men has been building the muscle of like feeling,
Right.
And so
Yeah,
I
okay,
think
that's fair.
once that happens, I think men will also, look at JP. The way he runs his business is heart-based, and so, and I'm sure you as well. I don't know as much except for the epic conferences that you put on.
They are pretty okay.
They're dope.
They are pretty good.
They're dope. So there's heart-based business, entrepreneurs that exist, of course, all over the place as far as men goes. But I think just from a nature nurture, hunter gatherers, men are hunters, women are gatherers, and that's just by nature.
That makes sense. We were having a call this week with an influencer named Jimmy Darts. He's a kindness influencer. He has about 10 million followers.
Whoa.
He has an amazing story about how he got into it, and I played a very small role in it. He came to one of our events, and it kind of opened up some opportunities for him. But I was listening to him talk about how he's built this following in the last year and a half to 2 years, and how he has a show coming out with an A-list actor, and how he's doing collabs with Mr. Beast and all these huge influencers, and it's happened in the last 18 months.
Wow.
And the thing that stood out to me about what he was saying was he was not trying to build a business. He was lining up with like this. He called it God.
Right.
He's like, I get in tune with God, and I just do what he tells me to do, and I just follow that impulse. And it reminded me a lot of what you shared on stage about how you just kind of connect to the impact and the change that you want to make, and business kind of takes care of itself. Which in my brain, like I want to figure out the exact step-by-step plan of how that's going to happen. And I don't get the vibe that you care so much about how it unfolds.
Well, I'm an athlete. I like the sport, like everyone else. Money is important to my family, to us as well. And from a lens of an energy exchange, being able to pay for things and all that. But the way I approach business is really more of like an innate feeling. So it's like, oh, I need this thing for myself. And so like, in my first book, Do Cool Shit, I talk about the 3 questions I ask myself before starting any business. The first question is, what sucks in my world? So that should be something that sucks in my world. And it can't just be like, oh, I'm going to start another t-shirt company. And it's like, how many of those exist? But like, what truly sucks in my world? Question number 2 is, does it suck for a lot of people? Because if it sucks for a lot of people, then it's an opportunity. If it sucks for just me and you, then I'm a diva and like whatever. It's not gonna create a very big business. There has to be a problem that sucks. So let me give you examples for my business, and I'll give you the third question next. Question number 1 is, what sucks in my world? So my first business was my restaurants, born of a stomach ache. I started New York City's first gluten-free farm-to-table pizza concept. And it was the first in 2004, 2005, when gluten-free, farm-to-table, organic, local were not the buzzwords of today. They were like, Subway was like the big healthy chain, And so, right? And so it was sort of like, oh, you're a Birkenstock wearing, like smelly guy with dreadlocks who go into health food stores. Like that's literally the type of healthy food we're talking about. I'm talking about pizza. And so what sucked in my world was having stomach aches when I ate regular pizza. Does it suck for a lot of people? Wow, like 1 in 5 Americans now eat gluten-free. 1 in 5 Americans are lactose intolerant. There's a lot of people who have a lot of GI issues and gut issues. It sucks for a lot of people, and they can't eat their favorite comfort food pizza without having a horrible stomach ache. So let's go back to my next company, Thinx. What sucks in my world? Having period accidents. You guys are both, neither of you are women, but if you were sitting on a white couch on your period, it would be like a worry for a woman if she's on her period, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, every time I had my period, it was a challenge, it was a problem, it was an annoyance. Playing soccer D1 at Cornell, right? I was like, ref, you can't just be like, ref, stop the game, let me go change my tampon. You can't be like, my older sister's a head and neck surgeon. She can't be like, yo, face while it's open and bleeding. And they go in and change my pad while you are just cut open. Like she bleeds through every one of her blues. If you're a ballerina, the number of ballerinas who've called me crying, grateful because they do grand pliés and their tampon flies out of their vagina, like in the middle of stage, or if you're stuck in traffic, or if you're defending your thesis, or if you're, like on a date, or if you're sleeping, or whatever you're doing, it's a problem. What sucks in my world, that does suck for a lot of every woman.
Sucks for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yes. My current business, Tushy, what sucks in my world, I had, some a thyroid issue, which led to some, GI
had Graves,
issues.
right?
I had hyperthyroidism.
Yeah. I have that too.
Yeah. Well,
Twinsies.
let's not label them because I got rid of mine. And so
That's awesome.
yeah. And so mine, I'm completely normal. But one of the side effects was pooping up to 8 times a day. Like it was a lot of fucking poop, And so, I really, during that period was really hard for me. And so what sucked in my world, pooping a lot, having a red butt, does it suck for a lot of people? Like 1 in 7 have thyroid issues. 1 in 4 have GI issues. There's chronic UTIs, hemorrhoids, fissures, itching, bacterial vaginosis, men's ailment. I mean, you have dingleberries if you have hair back there, which every man has hair back there, and so
I can
there's,
attest.
right? And so
Sucks for a lot of men. This is our next business.
I have let's do it. We've identified a big problem. Maybe we'll do like a little thing to cut him or shave him or,
I'm going to throw up.
Oh
Yeah.
$1 million idea. Come on, let's get it out there, Ryan.
Dingleberries.
Yep. So like what sucks in my world does suck for a lot of people. Millions and millions and millions and millions. And the people who care about the planet, 15 million trees are cut down every year. People care about like killing trees. People care about so many different things. Today there's a huge opportunity. So the third question is the most important question. So what sucks in my world? Does it suck for a lot of people? And the third question is, can I be passionate about this issue, cause, or community for a really long time?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
It takes 10 years to be an overnight success. We know that saying over and over again. Question for you. Do you guys know how old LaCroix, the LaCroix, those LaCroix drinks?
Yeah.
How old is that company? Because it popped up feels like popped out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
12 years?
I would say 10, 5, 7, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 to 10 to 12.
Yeah.
35 years.
What?
Really?
It's a 35-year-old company. And so people most companies are older companies that just somehow have a moment.
That's interesting.
And then they have their moment.
I'm actually really glad you said that because especially the internet entrepreneurship space, it's
like, boom.
It is, yeah.
Like
2
a
years, you should be out.
I'm a
Doesn't
crypto
matter.
billionaire. And
Right.
you're like, meh.
Venture capital, we need you
Yeah.
to be 10x in the next 12 months. We need you to grow 10x, and then we need you
But
to grow 10x
that's like
more.
winning the lottery.
Yeah.
It actually is. And people are like, oh, well, look at all these people win the lottery. Well, right time, right place, right? There's a lot of those for sure.
Can you imagine if there's an entire industry of how to win the lottery and there's all these people who are just depressed because they haven't won yet? That's what it feels like the online entrepreneurship space
Yeah.
is sometimes. It's like, yeah, but that guy became a billionaire and this person's making $10 million a year. And I've been at this for 8 months and I'm only making $100,000 a month.
Yeah, I know.
know.
It's just like the comparison thing is also a big killer. Yeah. So
is.
compare yourself.
I have a question for you, Miki, though. And
biggest version.
of course, I met you actually at the Capitalism Conference. And
Yes.
I had to after I heard her speak, I'm like, I need to know that person.
Literally,
I hunted you down.
And I honestly hunted you down too because I was like, wow, that guy has such great energy. And I
and I felt
remember
the same way.
an energetic connection. I was
Yeah.
like, I need to be. And so I remember you were talking to Justin, my co-founder for Tushy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, great. That's when I got your number.
Yeah.
Now check this out. We met at the Capitalism Conference.
We did.
Dun, 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 dun.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I wanted to hear Peter Diamante speak. I didn't even know who this Ryan Moran was. And all of a sudden, I'm like,
You're like,
listening.
he's handsome as
There's
fuck.
there's
but
1,000
I don't know who he
people,
is.
and there's this kid named Ryan Moran. And I'm like, who's interviewing? I'm like, who is that Ryan Moran? My God. And so I texted him and said, can we ever grab a cup of coffee? You seem like, and I'm like, you never know if you're going to get a response.
Yeah.
And we had coffee, and that was, the rest is history,
Now we're
Ryan.
BFFs.
But I had a question for you, Miki. So you are hyper creative in such a great way. You're one of the most creative people that I know. It's something I love about you. So when you're saying these things, I get it. I'm road mapping you. But a lot of people, honestly, and men were 50% less creative, let's just say, by default. So how do you translate what you're saying? If you're like out there in the audience and this is someone saying, I'm starting a business, I'd love to do what Miki said and follow these 3 things, something, that you just mentioned, a problem, a big problem, and what was your third one you just mentioned?
How can you be passionate about this
How can you
issue?
be passionate?
Yeah.
Exactly.
For a
See,
long
I'm a
time.
guy. I only get
For a
number-
long
I take
time.
50% in.
Yeah.
So how do you translate, like if you were to give advice to someone who maybe doesn't have your hyper creativity, but we're somewhere between writing a really boring business plan and some boring thing about the same thing about how you're going to raise your money, like, and what you're saying. What advice would you like give to
That's
people
an interesting
doing
question.
this?
Yeah. I mean, I think, I have a thesis around changing culture, first of all, like using innovation, using a product, which I'll talk about in a second. But ultimately, every single person's a creative. In my book, Disruptor, I talk about the story of this guy named Gordon McKenzie, and he's one of the head creative directors at Hallmark. And every single, couple of months, he goes to his elementary school locally where he works. And he goes into all these young kids' classrooms to get creativity, boys, girls, everyone. And so he goes to kindergarten students and he goes, "Who here's an artist?" And literally like every single kid's like screaming, me. Like every kid is like literally off their seats, like leaning on their just rowdily, like just shouting that I'm an artist. He goes to the first graders, "Who here's an artist?" Half the kids are raising their hands like this. By the time he gets to 6th grade, "Who here's an artist?" One kid is like this.
Right. So we lose that innate confidence.
We lose that confidence just from the lens of not on purpose, but the normal school and the common school systems that were created to create basically cogs in the machine during the Industrial Revolution. I mean, children are learning still to this day with standardized tests and rows of desks, the way kids were taught long time ago to basically, support the assembly lines.
Right.
So if someone gets sick, they just throw one in there and they're basically like a machine.
Right.
And kids obviously are taking ADHD medicine, all this stuff, because that's just not how kids learn. And yet we're just kind of taking all the juice and the creative art, the creative artist incredulousness out of their eyes and kind of like making them little machines. And so I think the way to undo that is by helping them play more. And by bringing playfulness back into adults, right? So one of my girlfriends, Daniela, started this really cool thing. Instead of brainstorming, she's calling it play storming. And it's this thing for adults. She goes into IKEA and huge companies that basically, like Shopify and all these companies, and reteaches all these executives how to play again. And so playing means going in nature and doing things like, climbing trees or going into a playground or going to an adult Disneyland or going to, some place where you can bring
a boat to Antarctica
and
dancing in the middle of
and like to the Drake Shake, and going to Burning Man like I do every single year for the last decade.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate place of play for
That's
adults.
where I rediscover it fastest.
And
I have 3 days of resistance and then my ego dissolves.
That's right.
And I'm just playing.
That's right. And so I think
I go sober too.
Right? Yeah. Going back to playing, I think putting ourselves in positions and doing the artist way is a great way to do it. Like the artist way is a really cool kind of workbook that this woman named Julia, what's her last name, basically put together that really walks people through how to think creatively again.
Yeah.
And so everybody, you're a creative, we're all creatives in our own way. We just pretend like that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Kind of like we're saying like, I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert. That is just a tag that we're putting on ourselves. That's just bullshit. All of this labeling stuff, it's like, I'm not creative, I'm more left brain, I'm more right brain. That's just what you've decided is true.
Right.
But so my book Disruptor is about disrupting all of that. The notion of like, what is true, what isn't true? Why do I need more stuff? Why do I need to be in a monogamous relationship? Why do I need to make money? Like, what is money? Money, like what, every single thing it's about like, wait, we can invent any new possibility for ourselves as long as it's not like killing people and hurting people, as long as we're doing something that feels pro-humanity and pro-life and pro ourselves, is like a really beautiful practice, to doing.
And also back to currency and the energy of currency, I find for me, the more relaxed I actually am and not trying to make something happen, the more it happens.
So exactly. And so from the lens of creativity, I always find the most creativity when I'm clear. So when I'm meditating, which is like you said, the most quiet, when I'm not trying hard, when I'm walking in nature, when I'm playing, when you're showering, all these ideas come through in the showers because you're just not thinking hard. The more we try, the more like
I can also tell you as I'm mentoring
hard.
more and more people who are a bit younger, back to people's energies, three people could have the same business plan. And I can tell someone who's either trying too hard or is a little desperate, it turns me off. And I don't even you'll never hear those words from me, but I won't make a point to if that person's asking for help or money or an investment, you tend to be turned off. It's like, you're almost looking for that young, bright person who for some reason has that like feeling of like clarity, purpose, execution, and like a wisdom.
Yes.
It makes you feel safer. Like as an investor or somebody wants to put time, like, do I want to see this person again and give them any more advice? And because all I have is my money and my time and my health.
Absolutely.
Like, so there really is something. I never really thought about it until you said that, but I think that's.
We just did Pitch Week at capitalism.com, where we have our students have been working on their business plans for the last 3 to 6 months.
Amazing.
They present to a panel of people who are there to consider writing checks. And we stream it to our NFT community. We stream it on YouTube. And these are all investors and advisors who are looking to write a check to our best performers. And you can tell a big difference. And it usually happens when it comes to trying to justify the valuation. When someone is justifying the valuation with logic and facts, and you can see them sort of shut down and get weird about the money. And now they've sort of lost touch with the purpose of why they're doing it. But when they stay in this energy of we're going in this direction, we're going to do this, this is who we're here to help and what we're doing, then all the investors are scrambling and competing with one another, and their valuation starts to be driven up, even if they started with a lower valuation. And so when they're staying in that zone,
That's
it
right.
just sort of unfolds.
There is such a, I mean, I say this to, some advisees as well. It's like there is such a fine line between like, knowing your shit and being confident, and then just like there's a desperation of needing the money, right?
right.
There's like,
It is a fine line.
There's a fine line. It's kind
It's
of
also
like,
not just needing the money. For men, I think also it's validation. Like once we're successful, then we are somebody. Women
Right.
too, but men even more. It's
I
like
mean,
we are the hunter gatherer. So in a way, I think there's a lot of that put upon us. That pressure of like, I need to show you that I made it.
totally. My friend Max says there's always a fine. There's like a fine line between fuck, fight, and play. It's like a fine line. It's the same thing. It's like there's a fine line between seeming like overconfident, not confident enough, desperate. There's really a line to toe, and knowing like how to hold yourself. And I think the way to hold yourself is like being in that integrity energy of yourself. Yeah. And I think like, my first business, when I was first starting out, I tried to raise money by putting on my investment banking suit and like having coffee meetings with potential investors. And I raised $0 because I was like so uncomfortable in my skin.
Yeah, interesting.
And energetically, I wouldn't work. And so then after 6 months of raising a big fat donut, I was like, what am I doing that's not bringing me out? And I was like, oh, because I'm not me in these environments. Where am I most me? And I was like, oh, I know, on the soccer field. And so, for example, in college, I would bring boys who I like to come watch me play soccer, and I was really good at soccer, and so they would just fall in love with me after watching me play, right? So I was like, okay, I can't bring investors to a soccer field. Where else do I shine? And I was like, oh, I shine at dinner parties. Like I throw the best dinner parties. I've grown up throwing dinner parties. We always make it intimate. Everyone leaves feeling so connected and so good. And so I'm going to start throwing fundraising dinner parties. And I'm going to be like the best host. And everyone's going to feel like when they leave, they've made epic connections. They've made best friends. And they feel like they're now part of a tribe that they want to put their money in. And that's literally how I raised the first $500K for my
that's
business.
really
Yeah.
smart.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I also noticed.
I have ideas right now.
I also noticed, Miki, it's funny, after Antarctica, which you threw quite that, talking about bringing a community together on a boat. This was not a normal trip to Antarctica. This was a once in a lifetime. But it was funny because you have another product which we probably won't talk about quite yet. I know you're in development on something.
Or are we not
Yes.
allowed?
I don't know.
No, we can touch on it. Yeah, it's called Hiro, named after my son. Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about what it is
Yeah,
or not?
sure.
Okay, so I'm excited. I invested in it.
Yes.
And I mean, the idea, again, taking a problem for you, something that sucks for you and sucks for a lot of people, which in this case is diapers and plastics in general, and finding some incredibly partnering up with, what's your partner's name? He's amazing. Taro, of course, who
You're
has.
partnering with Taro.
He's my co-founder
from
and CEO.
Force Magnetic.
Yep.
Cool.
And so you're taking somebody with like, how many generations of mushroom?
13 generations farmer.
mushroom farmer, and coming together with realizing that the mycelium, which is the roots of a mushroom, certain ones have an ability to decompose plastics. So instead of it sitting in Miki, I'm sorry, this is just so much
great.
fun. To take a diaper that would just sit there and create plastics and let it dissolve. And not only is that
Takes
the end of it,
500 years to decompose in a landfill.
So not only
the
doing
very
that-
first disposable diaper is still in a landfill today.
but the Mickey was telling me, then you get to the golden part, you get to the poop. And a baby's poop is liquid gold. And Mickey, again, even your wording, everything about it, like I hear so many pitches and so many presentations, but again, it's the communal experience. It's how you think. I couldn't say no. And honestly, I couldn't stop thinking about it. You and I talked about it for 5 minutes, and I hear all kinds of climate things. And I'm like, that is just brilliant, because I understand that you and I talked about where this could go after diapers. The applications are endless. And it really could put, I mean, not just a problem for some people, this is a problem for the planet. And I just so respect that about you, who you brought on, your approach. And then, of course, one thing we haven't talked about is then how you communicate. Because it's one thing to have a great idea as an entrepreneur. It's another thing to be inspired, passionate, kind of hit your 3 questions. But then how do you communicate that problem in a way that's fun, you pick really hard things, women's periods, poop, diapers. You're not picking really sexy subjects. And then somehow you just throw these crazy curveballs of creativity to communicate and get people thinking about things that you wouldn't ordinarily be thinking about. So what's that about for you? Like, how do you communicate that? Or
I mean, I have like a 3-pronged thesis around changing people's behaviors, because that is the hardest thing for people to do when it comes to trying a new product.
Yeah.
My mom and dad have been using a toilet paper since, or my great grandparents were using toilet paper generation. Why would I ever change what ain't broke? But it's like you're smearing shit around and you're sitting on fecal matter all day, like kind of broke. But anyways, so there's a lot of ingrained habit. I eat my Joe's Pizza in New York City. Like, I'm not switching healthy shit, like whatever. Period underwear. I bleed in my underwear. Disgusting. So there's like all the old conditioning that needs to get undone, right? Yeah. And so the 3-pronged thesis that has worked across every one of my companies is, point number 1 is, pretty basic and obvious, best in class product. It has to be the best. It can't be like, oh, it just fits enough, or it's enough. It has to be like the most delicious. It has to feel like a sexy lingerie underwear. It has to feel like a product that like hits you right in the beehole in the right temperature and the right pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just perfect.
That's awesome.
It has to be the right product. Installs in 10 minutes or less. It's so easy to install. It looks beautiful. It doesn't look like a weird contraption. It feels like you've upgraded your bathroom. You feel cool, So best in class product, number 1, first and foremost. That's a baseline. Second prong is considered artful design across every touch point of your brand. A lot of people do not consider art as part of the brand. Like, oh, what can be a branding thing? But it's like, no. I look at art books. I go to museums. I go to like nowness.com and find like real artful interpretations of nothing business related. All art, and then how do I basically take some of that art and translate it into art for my businesses? And so most of my inspiration doesn't come from like other companies and other brands, but it comes from the world of art that's never seen the light of day in the branding world. And
it's very obvious, like when you're looking at what your Subway campaigns that you do for things, so like it's art.
It's gallery art.
It
like
is.
We're ready. And then the third prong, which is I think the most important one from a lens of communication, is accessible, relatable language, like you're texting your best friend. Oftentimes we try to be very academic, very clinical, very medical, very technical around what we're trying to sell. And it's like got this value prop and that thing, and it's got this technicality and that thing and this technology and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what? It's like over my head. Does it work? I don't get it. Delete, next, swipe. And so I've learned that all of those things, being too heady, being too clinical, being too technical, medical, it does not work. What works is, how do you text your best friend your things? You're like, oh my God, I discovered this new thing. Like, check this out. Like, what? Oh my God, like you're messy, you're clunky, you're authentic,
right.
You're yourself,
right.
You're you. And it's like that shines through in how you text your friends versus like, what do they want me to say and exactly how they want me to say it?
How do I position this?
How do I position this in a way that's perfectly aligned with these different types of demographics? It's like, and I can totally tell within 5 seconds that it's so inauthentic. It's so put on. It's such bullshit.
Right. Remember the first question I asked you, Miki, on stage at Capitalism? I got up as a stranger and said, how come ad agencies are so full of shit? And like, I'm watching your stuff and saying it totally is like, it resonates with me. And yet it feels so artificial, like saccharine sweet, poor humor, trying to get my attention. And it all feels so inauthentic and fake. And I think that's the difference of what you're talking about.
Right. And it's like, whereas when you kind of engage with our brands, there's this affinity, there's a kinship, there's a feeling of like, well, you're talking to me.
Your main spokesperson for Hello Tushy is an asshole.
Yeah, like actually an asshole
it's
character.
It's an actual asshole.
If you go to if you Google Hello Tushy, I'm an asshole, you'll see the spot, and it's really.
I'm an asshole. But like literally, poop comes out of me.
take time because it'll make you laugh and it will make your whole day.
And by the way,
check it out.
By the way, don't go to tushy.com. It's a very graphic anal porn site. Go to hellotushy.com. Hello. We've had investors go there. We've had customers. And then we're like, no. And then that cookie follows you for a long time. So be careful. Yeah.
This is how I'm processing this right now. I reacquired a company that I sold in 2017.
Cool,
Private
congrats.
equity group ran it into the ground. So we're buying it back for pennies
Great.
on the dollar. And,
Love it when that
I was just meeting this morning with my partner on it. We were talking about the new product line, and we're getting more done in the last 2 weeks since we took over than the private equity group got in the last 5 years combined. But one of the products that we're launching is a supplement that will restore your gut. And it's something that I've had an amazing amount of success with.
Wow.
And I mean, the things that come out of you once your gut is healed, like houses and cars come out of you. And we're sitting there trying to think about how to talk about this product. And we're gone down like do you go the medical route or what? But as you're saying, just like you're texting your best friend, well, I would text Alex. The best marketing campaign in the world is if I could just do a hashtag BPC poops and because if people posted
BPC?
photos, is body protective compound. It's just the name of one of the ingredients.
Okay, cool.
And so I was saying, like, if people just took photos of what came out of them and posted with hashtag BPC poops, this would be the best selling thing in the world, which I don't think we're going to go quite that route. But I'm thinking about the actual things that I have sent you about this product and how it has impacted my life. And it would be so much more of an effective campaign than anything that we even brainstormed this morning.
That's what I'm saying. So like,
it's so true what you're saying.
Just think about what you're texting your friends, and that should be the thing that you use.
That should be the
And
ad.
make you remember on yours, I still have a t-shirt campaign that I'm pitching to you through composting about I soiled myself.
I love that.
And like basically shitting our, like to encourage people to actually do composting, which I learned in Antarctica is the number one thing we can do as human beings about climate. That's like the most active thing you can do is not waste food and compost. So I want to do a whole campaign with Miki one day around I soiled myself. And soiling yourself.
It's
T-shirts.
Brilliant.
Trees coming out of your armpits, just all about soiling yourself and relishing soiling yourself, which means composting.
Genius.
Right?
I actually think that's genius.
Mickey, I'm telling you, if you ever have time, this is what came out of Antarctica for me. Besides my kids throwing a raging party without my permission, these are the two byproducts of your cruise.
I'm no, seriously, let's talk about it. Like, for real.
I mean, the home composting market is enormous right now with what Pila has done.
I know.
With the Lomi. I mean, they've made it cool.
But I still, that's
How are you taking this approach into the new company? What can you share about that?
We're plastic composting is going to be a big part of it as well for us as well, like using our technology, proprietary Hiro technology.
Is
we'll have
the technology the product that is compostable, or is it the actual mushroom strain?
It's the mushroom strain that we are basically inventing taking from nature and putting this combination together that will decompose the diaper within a few months, and then also plastics in landfills as well. So it's a double generative innovation.
Will the actual compound be applicable to other plastics?
Yes.
That's what's so exciting about
Yes.
this.
That is really exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, It could be a game changer.
That's like
we have like 7
world-changing.
full-time scientists working on it the last couple of years, and we just signed a lease on a lab here in Austin, so we're moving the whole operation here to Austin.
Yay.
So
I'd love to tour when it's time.
Yes. No,
Love to
wait.
see it.
The design. I mean, we're gonna create a whole education space so people can walk through and really understand how plastic mushrooms exist and how it works and
Incredible.
all of
But
that.
theoretically, if you have a pile of plastic somewhere, you can take this fairy dust and sprinkle it
Yes.
on, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's soil.
Yeah.
I will stay tuned.
We're talking about one of the biggest problems in humanity right
No
now.
joke.
And throwing a new, and of course, applying nature to nature
And
to
harnessing
take care of
baby
our
poop,
problems.
like baby's
And-
nature,
Yeah.
to solve that problem. To be basically to be the fertilizer fodder.
What's the timetable for this?
2024 launch.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I just want to know what you would say I speak to capitalists and aspiring entrepreneurs who often get into the game thinking that business is going to solve a financial problem for themselves. And I tell them, if you're trying to start a business to solve a financial problem
for yourself, that's
like
the worst way.
It's almost like having a child so that you can have more free time.
Right.
Well, I'm not
That's
going to
so
see my
well
friends
said.
anymore, so I guess I'll have more free time. It's just not quite how it
Yeah.
works, at least in the short run. And you have a very different approach to it. You have solved many financial problems, but not setting out to solve a financial problem.
Yeah.
You solved a big world problem. And so there is sort of this tug between, like, I want to go out and create a company with a big vision that I'm excited about, but also I need to make money in the short term, is often the mindset that entrepreneurs come in. And I've dealt with that, right? And I've overcome it to some extent, but like that still exists for me, just not at the same level it did at one point. So what would you say to somebody who is getting into the game and notices that that's coming up for them?
That they want to do it for financial reasons?
Well, they can tell that that's holding them back. Like, I understand, like what we talked about earlier, I understand a lot of what you say intellectually, but the embodiment of it is a different thing. So I can look at an entrepreneur and say, if you're starting this to solve a financial challenge, this is going to be hard. And like, I get that intellectually, but I actually do need to solve a financial problem.
Well, that's why, like, I always say you start with these questions: what sucks in my world? And if it's only solving a financial problem, likely the business that you're starting isn't solving a real world problem. It's probably just being like, ooh, I'll start another shoe company and become like the next like Tom's, and then it'll just fail because you're not really passionate about it, you know, or it's a commodity business and you're just like, it's a race to the bottom, and it's just margins become this, and it's just not worth it. So it's like solving a real actual problem that you face, and that when I have so much more energy to solve my own problems, knowing that it solves the problems of other people, but especially my own. Like, I'm motivated as all hell to like solve a period problem, a poop problem, and these diaper problems. Like, I want to solve these problems, you know, for myself, for my family, for my friends, with people around me. So that's enough motivation. And if it's solving a real problem that a lot of people are facing, it's a real business.
Yeah.
And I think when people are doing a vanity thing where it's like quick buck thing, like, look, I mean, crypto is up, and to be like, I'm such a crypto millionaire. All of a sudden they're like, not, you know?
Now I'm a crypto thousandaire.
Exactly. And so it's like, unless you're really like people, that's why for me, like most people who are in crypto are in it for that money thing versus for like, wow, like changing currency and like, fuck the system and like whatever, and really trying to change it from the ground up, democratizing all the things.
Right.
Like,
But the people who have been in it for a long time. Yeah.
Exactly. They've been like, you know, like blockchain architects or whatever, you know? And so there's different levels of respect. In the same way, I have different levels of respect for people in business, where it's like, I can tell that person's just doing it for the buck, or that person's doing it to gather community, create a thing, create a space for people to gather. Like, you can tell what the motivation is. And then based on that, oftentimes the most successful ones are the ones who have the right energetic motivation, like most often, you know?
Perfect answer. So I would just want to say thank you for being an example of this, because I talk about this stuff, right? I am practicing becoming an example of this, right? But part of my mission is I sort of dance in the world of big business and distill it back down to me 10 years ago and make that possible for entrepreneurs. And I know that the transformation I'm on right now is going from getting this in my head to embodying this. And so you serve as an example for entrepreneurs like me who get this and want to be more like it. And lots of people talk about it, but you actually just live it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, Miki, it is so great having you here. Thank you for sharing with us. And remember, when we started the show, my inspiration, like having you here, is just so great. It really is to inspire people that you can make outsized returns by really bringing that why and that purpose in early. And you are such a living embodiment of it. And it's actually inspiration for me, because I think I'm fairly creative, but now it just makes me want to play more. Well, for a guy who likes to play, I'm like, play more and create more.
Playing. Well, I will say, you know, like Thinx, like we sold it recently, and our initial investor made 60 times their money.
60?
60.
Nice.
60.
Fantastic.
You know, people with 25K walked away with 1.5. Like,
wow.
People put in like 1, walked away with a lot. You know what I mean? Like,
amazing
stuff like that.
What was that time frame?
You mean from the point of starting the business to selling?
Yeah, from first check-in to
First
60X.
check-in was like 2014, and then I sold in 2019. But then they sold. So this final sale happened in 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
7 years, not bad.
60X in 7 years.
That kind of works. I can do the math on that.
I guess that's an okay return.
I think that might be an okay return.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to exceed that for this next one.
Yes.
And show that we can do that and it's changed the world at the same time, for real.
Yeah,
Like,
they're all big, but this one really Talking about, number two, how many people have this icky problem? I'd say it's all of us Earthlings, all 9 billion of us.
Yeah.
So this is
can we
big.
harness it for good?
I know.
We've harnessed cow shit for good.
Right. I love it.
Yeah.
That if we ultimately take one of the hardest problems and fix it through a mushroom, that would be amazing. Miki, thank you so much for your love, your passion, and everything that you do.
Thanks, Miki.
Thank
So
you
appreciative.
guys. Same.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the episode. And if you did, like us, subscribe. We love your comments. Please give us your feedback and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Thank you.